sure on the Facebook too. Testing, testing, 1, 2. Testing, testing, everyone getting volume. We're all set there too. Great.
Alexa, are we ready? Ready? Everybody ready? Yep. Good morning. We've gathered you here today to discuss a use of force incident involving one of our own officers. I'll begin with a summary of the incident. Chief will then give a statement. We will show you a video or 2 videos of the incident that was captured on body-worn camera. Finally, the Chief will answer questions, but will not be able to speak about the investigation that is ongoing. I'm Lieutenant Shane Foley, S-H-A-N-E, F-O-L-E-Y. As a result of an internal IMPD investigation, Marion County Prosecutor's Office filed charges against IMPD Sergeant Eric Huxley for Level 6 felony official misconduct and Level 6 felony battery with moderate bodily injury. Chief Taylor has also suspended Sergeant Huxley pending a recommendation of termination to the IMPD Civilian Police Merit Board. The suspension is without pay. Here's what we know about the incident that occurred on September 24th of this year. On September 24th, Sergeant Christopher Kibbe conducted an investigation on Monument Circle, assisted by Sergeant Eric Huxley and Officer Matthew Shores. As a result of that investigation, Jermaine Vaughn was placed under arrest for disorderly conduct. Mr. Vaughn was handcuffed in the process of being searched when the video that you will see begins. All 3 officers had body-worn cameras on and were activated. The first video shared will be from the body-worn camera of Officer Matthew Shores. The second video will be from that of Sergeant Christopher Kibbe. The body-worn camera from Sergeant Eric Huxley does not show the use of force. The use of force in the videos we will show you was investigated thoroughly through internal processes of IMPD. Chief Taylor learned of the incident on Wednesday, October 6th, and immediately ordered an internal investigation and a special investigations unit investigation into the incident. A detective with the IMPD Special Investigations Unit filed a probable cause affidavit with the Marion County Prosecutor's Office this past Friday. Again, Sergeant Huxley is suspended without pay pending a recommendation of termination to the IMPD Civilian Police Merit Board. This continues and remains an active internal investigation to include the review of all aspects of use of force reporting, both of which are provided in the press packets we will provide to you, and those general orders are available online. Sergeant Kibbe and Officer Shores have been placed on administrative duties during the internal investigation. Questions about the prosecution should be directed to the Marion County Prosecutor's Office. The FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office have been advised and consulted about this incident. As with any person charged, Sergeant Huxley should be considered innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law. Chief Taylor has ordered a review of past uses of force by all 3 officers involved in this incident and an audit of the uses of force incidents Sergeant Huxley reviewed in his capacity as a supervisor. I will now turn the podium over to Chief Taylor.
So honestly, I'm here with a bit of heavy heart. This video that you are going to observe is probably going to make you upset as it did me. My message first is to the men and women of the IMPD that day in and day out do a spectacular job of protecting this community and treating people with the respect that they deserve. It's interesting. This month marks my 34th year in law enforcement. And although I'm not a stranger to officers behaving badly, I think the fact that you'll see this on body cam is really going to bring it home and personal. I'm upset. It hurts me to see any of our officers treat someone the way that you're going to see here shortly. No excuse for it. I promised this community and I promised our officers that I would be transparent. That's in good times and bad times. This is a bad time. But I think the community deserves it. Hopefully they'll understand that not only myself but my team acted swiftly, and we were prompt in our decisions to remove police powers from these individuals that were involved and to launch these investigations, including the criminal investigation. As I said before, transparency is one of those things that we've been striving for. We've done that because we want to build the correct relationship with the community that we need to have. And I think our officers have done a spectacular job of that, and hopefully that will continue. But I understand after watching this video there's going to be some people who are upset, and we'll hope to mend those fences where we can. My apology not only goes out to the men and women of IMPD that do it right, but every other law enforcement officer in this state and in this country. Because I know these videos, when they're seen, there's going to be people that are going to say, that's what they're all like. Well, let me tell you, that's not what they're all like. We'll get through this. There's still an IA investigation going on. I don't know where that'll lead, if additional violations will be found with the other people involved. But it's my commitment to this department and to this city that when these things come to my attention, I'm not going to allow that to exist on this department. So with that, we'll show you the video. I will tell you beforehand, I would warn you, it may be difficult to watch. But please use discretion in viewing is advised, especially with younger children. Thank you.
About you? No, nobody cares what you do. No, Karen, nobody cares what you do either. You understand that? Yeah, I'm not. I'm not out here complaining. No, that's the thing. Nobody cares what you do anymore. I know nobody cares what you do anymore. You understand that? Lean back. Nobody cares what you do anymore. Lean back. How the fuck am I gonna lean back with the fucking you holding? Well, like, right? We're not gonna do this, right? Stop! You're done. You're done. You're done. Are we done now? Roll over. You're done. I can't. Roll over. I can't. You're done. You're done. There you go. There you go. With brutality. Just lean back. There you go. With brutality. There you go. Well. We're done. You're done. You're done. You're done. Are we done now? Roll over. You're done. I can't. Roll over. I can't. You're done. There you go. You're done. There you go. There you go. Police brutality. Just leave my. There you go. Police brutality.
Floor to questions.
So Officer, or Sergeant Huxley, he was the one who kicked the man? Sorry, I didn't know which one.
That's correct.
Yes.
The reason why there's no video from Huxley's camera was the angle bad or the video
No, the video exists, it just doesn't show because of the angle of the camera.
And the status of the other two officers, you mentioned whether or not there would be charges filed against them. Did they come forward with statements before SIU began investigation, or it took SIU to go to them to get statements?
So we learned about this through an internal process. So whenever officers use any type of force against a subject, they're required to do what's called a blue team. In that blue team, they have to explain what force was used and why. A separate supervisor reviews those blue teams, and when there is body camera footage that goes along with that, that will always also be reviewed. That's how we came to know about this. When that sergeant reviewed that body camera video, he of course notified his immediate supervisor, that then notified Commander Burton, who notified Deputy Chief Barker, and that's when we got wind of it, and then we.
Was the problem with the other two officers that their version of this was not brought up until after the blue team review, or they initiated the blue team review?
They're required to do the blue team paperwork and as part of our procedure. So they have to do that, and then that other supervisor is required to review that paperwork. So, yes, sir.
Blue team paperwork is required in any use of force or what?
Yes, sir.
So was it Officer Huxley that you see with the glasses, and they were on the special thing?
I believe that's Sergeant Kibbe, our shores.
Officer Shores.
Is that normal to cross legs like that? Is that a tactic?
I don't.
Understand that 'cause he's already on the ground.
Yeah, it's a control. You know, you're trying to control somebody. It's not unheard of. Obviously, our concern was more with the foot stomp, right? But the other tactic is not something that's not foreign to us.
What can you tell us about how the officers first encountered Mr. Vaughn? What drew Mr. Vaughn to their attention?
There was, I guess, a report of disorderly conduct on his behalf. I think that's what initially drew it. This is down at the monument. The specifics of that, I'm not sure. But at some point, they're talking to him and believe that it was necessary to effect an arrest, and progress from there.
So I want to ask, because when people see this, they're going to see a black man, and I believe all three officers were white, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what's your response to how that looks, you know, with everything that we've had going on the last year and a half, to just the racial divide? You know, when I'm out in the community, when I'm on police shootings, on scenes, and the first thing is, these officers don't understand us. They talk down to us as a black community. They don't want to get to know us. I mean, that is the automatic response. Sometimes justified, sometimes not. But that's what people, I think, are going to feel. So I feel when I watch it. I mean, what's your response?
Well, and I
to that?
can't change how people feel about things. You know, as far as I know, there were no racial epithets or anything like that that were said during that. I would be disgusted at that if it was black officers with a black subject or with a white subject, or any way you cut it. I would have an issue with that. But I understand what people will think. There's still an investigation going on. I don't know if that gets found out during the investigation. All I can speak on is I have at least one of my officers that made a very poor choice and did something outrageous, and I'm going to recommend that he's terminated for that.
When would you expect this case to go to the use of force review board?
Probably not till after the criminal charge has been satisfied.
You said there'd be a review of all uses of force involving Sergeant Huxley. Do we know that there have been past uses of force, or is that part of what we're looking at?
That's what we'll look at. You know, we want to make sure that there isn't anything that for whatever reason we missed. So that we'll audit that, as well as the other two officers involved, to make sure that we've got a good idea of what we've got. Hopefully just this isolated incident.
And Chief, did you say Sergeant Huxley had also
He more than likely would have as a supervisor, so those will be reviewed as well.
And
Did
the
your
other two,
investigators get a chance to talk to Mr. Vaughn?
Yes, they have spoken with him.
Chief, is it accurate to say loud music was involved in the disorderly conduct that Mr. Vaughn was approached about?
I don't know that.
and the other two officers, to be clear, they are also being investigated as well?
Yes, ma'am.
But they haven't been charged with anything?
They have not been charged with any criminal activity. The internal affairs investigation will continue on for as long as it takes to make sure that we've got all the facts known.
Are they being investigated just because they were also involved in it? Do you think that there's possibly some wrong here?
Well, it's all part of the same incident.
Is the criminal investigation still ongoing with respect to them, or just the IA investigation?
To the other two, just the internal affairs. The prosecutor's office decided that they would file charges against Sergeant Huxley, only they did not file criminal charges against the other two at this point.
And there's no chance that that could happen?
I wouldn't expect that to happen.
So I know you said obviously this isn't representative of all officers, but I'm curious if this has triggered any kind of extra training, overall conversations. I mean, I imagine with the last 2 years, stressful and hard to be an officer in general. And I'd also imagine on the other side of the community of trying to have trust and faith in officers. So I'm curious if there's any extra training or anything that's being done behind the scenes with
Sure.
everybody else.
Sure, so whenever we have an incident of this magnitude, and it doesn't even have to be this level, we take advantage of our opportunities to review those incidents and see if there's additional training that we can implement, or does this fall into some other training that we already are doing that could be tweaked. I'm happy to say that my staff behind me is very vocal, and Assistant Chief Bailey, who couldn't be here today, are all very vocal about the things that we want to do to make sure the department is the best that it can be. But that typically, really on a daily basis, includes reviewing things that are brought to our attention to see how we can make it better and make the community feel better about its police department.
Can you say what happened after this, if Mr. Vaughn was taken to jail, did he receive medical treatment?
He was taken to jail. There was no medical treatment that was deemed necessary at that time. But yes, he did go to jail.
How long has Sergeant Huxley been with the department?
It's been a number of years. I'm not sure exactly right offhand how many. I might have that. Hold on just a second.
All that for you, we'll get that to you.
I do have it. 14 years.
So is it incredibly discouraging for you, he's a veteran of this police force, to see that kind of discipline?
Yeah, well, like I said, any officer that would do that, I don't care if they've only been on a year or two or a number of years, they could be on. I would be disappointed if someone with my number of years had done something like this. It's totally uncalled for. And like I said, my hope is that the community understands that when these things come to our attention, we'll deal with them quickly, get those people off the force. But please don't hold that against our men and women that are doing, like I said, a great job for you day in and day out. If you've done a ride-along or if you've seen other video, we have as many videos of officers doing outstanding work as, well, this is just a one-off, right? This is not typical of what we would see. So the officers are out there doing what they should do. It's just unfortunate that one of our own chose to respond the way he did.
We'll take one more.
The grabbing of the shirt front just before the kick, two questions. Is that Sergeant Huxley, and is that also excessive, or is that?
I believe that was Shores that grabbed him. That's part of the internal affairs investigation that'll determine whether or not that was excessive.
So Shores grabbed the shirt and Shores had him on the ground. possibly.
Initially took him to the ground.
The action, just to understand all the players, Officer or Sergeant Huxley kicks him in the head, right? That's what we see, and that's the, I don't want to say the end of his involvement, but that's the main thing, correct?
Yes, ma'am.